South Asia witnessed perhaps the most intense and swift, large-scale air battle in the history of South Asia. At least 100 aircraft from both sides were engaged in a very swift and intense battle over Kashmir airspace. So in a very few minutes, Pakistan Air Force humbled the world's fourth largest air force in a few minutes by successfully shooting down 5 of those aircraft which launched their standoff weapon systems, which are called Spectre, inside Pakistan territory.
Why India is in a mode of denial? Why India is not accepting that these jets have been shot down by Pakistan Air Force?
I think they're still in a state of shock. They're still recovering from their shock that Pakistan, in a very quick response, intercepted the aircraft which dared to launch their standoff weapons inside Pakistani territory.
Pakistan will definitely take an appropriate retaliatory action.
In the next 24 or 48 hours, India is expecting a major proportionate manifestation of Pakistan's doctrine of quid pro quo plus.
What do you think that how the situation could be, the tension could be reduced, it could be de-escalated?
If India carries out any illegal, unilateral, hostile act against Pakistan, then Pakistan has the right, the responsibility, as per UN Charter, as per international law, to defend itself.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello and welcome to Program Insight in V News English. Most important development in South Asia. We have witnessed after 22nd April incident of Pahalgam, which is an Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. There was a terrorist attack. And in the aftermath of terrorist attack, there was tension between India and Pakistan. India leveled baseless and concocted allegations against Pakistan that Pakistan was behind this. Since 22nd of April, Pakistan was anticipating that India may carry out strikes inside in Pakistan. In the aftermath of 22nd of April, Pakistani security forces, Pakistan's armed forces remained on high alert. But over the last 2 weeks, there have been extensive diplomacy. Pakistan also took a number of friendly countries into confidence. And then at the highest level, United Nations Secretary General called both Pakistani and Indian leadership. Pakistan also convened an urgent meeting of UN Security Council. Despite these all things, India carried out overnight strikes inside in Pakistan, which resulted in to the martyrdom of 26 Pakistanis. Most unfortunate thing was that mosques were attacked in Pakistan and in Azad Jammu and Kashmir. In today's conversation, we will discuss all aspects of this Indian air strikes inside in Pakistan, Pakistan's response, then meeting of the National Security Council, in which it was resolved that Pakistan reserves the right to respond to these Indian attacks. And another important thing, which precisely that the swift action by Pakistan Air Force was shooting down of 5 fighter jets of Indian Air Force. To discuss all aspects, fortunately, we have with us Dr. Syed Mohammad Ali, Senior Strategic Affairs Analyst, Security and Defense Analyst. Dr. Syed Mohammad Ali Saab, I've already explained what happened overnight. But my immediate question to you that despite Pakistan was in touch with friendly countries, with China, with Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Turkey, and even United States Secretary of State also called Prime Minister in the last few days. But despite this, what prompted India to carry out this strike?
Thank you for inviting me on your show, Mr. Mateen, Haider. I think these are very important historic moments in South Asia, and particularly because both India and Pakistan, have a long history of conflict and crisis, and both are nuclear armed states. And this saber rattling has brought both countries in the middle of a major deepening crisis and escalating conflict. I agree with you that in the last almost 2 weeks, uh, Pakistan spent most of its time and energy in crisis diplomacy, both
True.
at bilateral and multilateral levels, um, calling up and meeting ambassadors of important countries, receiving foreign minister from friendly countries, and also Pakistan's UN mission requested a closed door meeting with UN Security Council members. So this crisis diplomacy was aimed at uh, engaging the international community and
True.
warning them that they should use their influence over India to dissuade them from carrying out any irresponsible or hostile act, which could spiral into a deepening crisis and quickly escalate into a conflict. Unfortunately, despite this very effective and intense crisis diplomacy and calls by the US leadership and British leadership and our Arab friends, it seemed that India again miscalculated the international environment, overestimated its hard power, and underestimated the resolve, will, and capability of Pakistan in general and Pakistan Air Force in particular. And which is why, in the early hours of 7th May, South Asia witnessed perhaps the most intense and swift, large scale air battle in the history of South Asia. And according to my information, at least 100 aircraft from both sides were engaged in a very swift and intense battle over Kashmir airspace in the early hours of the morning, which included almost 70 to 80 Indian fighter jets and about 25 to 26 Pakistan Air Force fighter jets. And thankfully, true to the history, tradition, and legacy of professional excellence, Pakistan Air Force, each pilot of Pakistan Air Force is trained to fight an enemy 3 times its size. And true to the legacy of MM Alam, Mr. Rafiqi, Sajjad Haider, and so many others, today Pakistan Air Force inflicted a painful, damaging, and embarrassing and humiliating defeat on Indian Air Force, despite Indian Air Force being equipped with the world's most expensive, advanced, and latest Rafale fighters, Su-30 MKIs, MiG-29s, and Mirage 2000s upgraded versions. So in a very few minutes, Pakistan Air Force humbled the world's fourth largest air force in a few minutes by successfully shooting down 5 of those aircraft, which launched their standoff weapon systems, which are called Spectre, inside Pakistan territory. And this is something which international and Western media is also reporting. And you can notice that despite almost, I think, 19 hours after this air battle, the Indian media is quiet and is not claiming or stating anything.
This is what my next immediate question is, that you have mentioned the response given by Pakistan Air Force, but there is no official statement from Indian side which may say that these aircrafts were shot or destroyed by Pakistani Air Force. Although India is saying that two or three of its aircrafts crashed. My question is why India is in a mode of denial? Why India is not accepting that these jets have been shot down by Pakistan Air Force?
I think there are three reasons why you're not hearing anything from India, despite the largest and most intense air battle in South Asian aviation history being fought a few hours from now. First off, I think they're still in a state of shock because they believe, uh, India has a defense budget 9 times that of Pakistan. It is the fourth largest defense spender in the world. It has the fourth largest armed forces after US, China, and Russia. And it truly believed, especially its leadership, its diplomatic, political, and strategic leadership, believed its own rhetoric and felt that Pakistan is too small a country, and they can easily browbeat, humiliate, and destroy Pakistani, capabilities. But I think they are still recovering from their shock that Pakistan, in a very quick response, intercepted the aircraft which dared to launch their standoff weapons inside Pakistani territory. And the second reason is I think their air force is also in a state of panic and shock because, true to Mr. Modi's promise, they received very expensive French Rafale aircraft, and Mr. Modi believed that the outcome of the 2019 February Pulwama crisis would have been different if they had Rafale aircraft. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today they had the Rafale aircraft and it was used against Pakistan and it was humbled by Pakistan Air Force. So that is the second reason. The third reason is economic because these aircraft are so expensive and according to informed sources, by including its all operational maintenance and acquisition cost, every single Rafale costs more than $280 million. So just the loss of these 5 aircraft has cost India in a few minutes almost $1 billion. So they're really shocked. How are they going to afford such a loss? And they're really worried if this crisis further escalates, then can they afford such a costly and embarrassing conflict with Pakistan? And the fourth reason is political, because the upcoming Bihar elections, Mr. Modi thought that such a dangerous saber rattling and adventure will earn him anti-Muslim votes and sympathy and political popularity in the Bihar elections. But it seems that after such a sobering humiliation, it will be difficult for Mr. Modi to gain political popularity in Bihar or convince the US that India is ready and capable of countering China, while in reality, it cannot even save itself from effective response of a smaller neighbor like Pakistan.
Dr. Syed Mohammad Ali Saab, there have been two important developments in Pakistan. One, an emergency meeting of National Security Committee, which is an apex body of the top security-related matters. And in such committee, important national security decisions are made. So the committee took into consideration all related developments, Indian provocations, actions, and as you said, committee also expressed satisfaction over the capability of Pakistan Air Force in giving a swift and timely response, but it also empowered armed forces of Pakistan to give an appropriate response. So immediate question is that armed forces of Pakistan have been empowered by National Security Committee. So please share your thoughts with our audience that now Pakistan will definitely take an appropriate retaliatory action.
That's a very important question, Mr. Mateen, Haider. I think there are 5 key signals in the National Security Committee meeting held on Tuesday. And they are very clear, aimed at 5 different types of audiences. First off, the most important audience is the Pakistani nation. That the National Security Committee promised to the Pakistani nation that no stone will be unturned.
True.
And all efforts will be made, all resources will be utilized for protecting the sovereignty, the territorial integrity, and national security of Pakistan. And every single life of every single Pakistani is equally sacrosanct and precious for Pakistani armed forces. Secondly, it was a very important message to the Pakistani armed forces personnel, Pakistan Air Force, Pakistan Army, Pakistan Navy, that they have always risen to the challenge. They have always lived up to the expectation of Pakistani nation and thwarted all aggressive intent and designs of the adversary. The third most important message is to India, that you have seen the reality. So you need to recover from your misperception and your own rhetoric that you can browbeat Pakistan or achieve hegemony in South Asia. That Pakistan has the will, the resolve, the capability to ensure balance of power in South Asia and also to maintain strategic stability and regional peace. And any effort by India in future as well will not go unanswered, and Pakistan will definitely inflict painful and humiliating loss in case of any future such adventure as well. And the fourth message is to the friends and the international community that they have a very important responsibility in convincing India that playing with fire is not going to help India. It is not going to help the 1.4 billion Indian people. It is not going to solve their development, economic, and political and social problems. So instead of wasting their precious taxpayers' money of hundreds of millions of Indians, they should devote these taxpayers' money towards socio-economic development of their country, rather than wasting it in such dangerous and irresponsible strategic behavior, which was demonstrated through the Operation Sindoor early morning yesterday. But most importantly, I believe that Pakistan has not yet responded, Mr. Mateen, to the
Pakistan has not yet responded.
Yes. What I need to clarify is that the action by Pakistani Air Force was not a response.
It was not a response.
It was not a response. It was only to deter and deny India the ability to harm the life, the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Pakistan. And the rules of engagement which were practiced by Pakistan Air Force early morning meant that only those fighters which dared to launch standoff weapons inside Pakistan territory were identified, were targeted, were locked, and were destroyed. So it was a defensive measure. The response to inflict a proportionate and adequate cost on India, to ensure that Indian attempt to harm and destabilize the strategic stability and deterrence equation of South Asia is still remaining. And it is important that I think in the next 24 or 48 hours, India is expecting a major proportionate manifestation of Pakistan's doctrine of quid pro quo plus. And the evidence of that, Mr. Mateen, are fourfold. If you look at the most popular international English media of Indian origin, immediately after the conclusion of Operation Sindoor by Indian Air Force, they have closed the airspace of their Western Air Command. 18 airports of India have been closed down. All the border towns of India across line of control and border are, in a civil defense situation, are there ready. And this indicates that India anticipates and expects a befitting response from Pakistan. Since the specific targets are classified, I would not like to divulge that, but my assessment is that in the next 24 to 48 hours, India will have to pay a price in kind at a time, place, through a method and means of Pakistan's choice to ensure that India's misperception and miscalculation that it has an option of limited strike inside Pakistan is corrected, changed, and finally and convincingly proven before Indian military and political leadership that is a choice that Pakistan will not allow. That is a choice that the Indians cannot afford. And that is a status quo that India, despite its huge investment in hard power and air power, cannot change.
Dr. Saab, you have very beautifully explained all aspects of air power, Pakistan's air capability. Now, I would like to draw your attention on line of control, where clashes are continuing, and it started with the unprovoked firing from the Indian security forces. The way Pakistan Air Force gave a befitting response to Indian Air Force, Pakistani military gave a befitting response only in the self-defense to the Indian unprovoked firing. One brigade headquarters was destroyed, several other units and Pakistani military inflicted huge damages, and at number of Indian military posts, white flags were hoisted. So tell us, what does this white flag mean? Is it mean we surrender, we don't want any war? So if they consider that this white flag is a surrender, it's a victory for Pakistan and it's a huge defeat for Indian army. Your thoughts on line of control situation?
I think in order to understand the current situation of line of control, it is important to look at the Indian strategic behavior and its history. You would recall when India sent its armed forces to occupy Kashmir, the Pakistani armed forces and Pakistani freedom fighters and the Kashmiri freedom fighter, pushed back the Indian aggression and went on to secure the independence of Azad Kashmir, which forced India to seek a ceasefire, raise white flags, and go to United Nations and promise it that it will hold a plebiscite under UN to allow the Kashmiris to decide their future on their own. So this is the strategic character of India, Mr. Mateen, that whenever they face a humiliation or defeat, they want to seek peace. But whenever somebody talks peace in a diplomatic, polite, dignified manner, they misunderstand it as a sign of weakness. It is very unfortunate for South Asia and also for the Indian people that instead of devoting their time, energy, and resources and taxpayer money towards resolving their deepening socioeconomic problems of hundreds of millions of poor Indians, they are wasting their taxpayer money on saber rattling in a nuclearized environment and risking nuclear conflict in South Asia. So that is very unfortunate. That is something that I think the international community, particularly major powers like US, should also consider, that instead of containing China, all the technology and weapons that it is receiving from the Western sources are being used against Kashmiris and Pakistan.
Exactly.
So this is an evidence that this is a waste of the US investment in India. And I think people in Beijing will be smiling after this humiliating air battle over Kashmir, that their technology proved superior to whatever um, India could gather in their air armory. And they could also be amused that India promises to contain China while it cannot even contain Pakistan. And people in Washington would be worried that they consider India to be the most important ally in the global containment of China project, while in reality it cannot even behave responsibly and maintain strategic stability with Pakistan.
True.
So these are the realities that the US leadership should also consider, that how much money, investment, diplomatic and political capital US has wasted in propping up India, which has wasted all this technology. And a very interesting development which took place today, the leading French aviation manufacturer Dassault, which manufactures the Rafale aircraft, its share price has rapidly declined. Its share price has fallen today, whereas the aircraft manufacturer of the Chinese aviation industry, their shares have risen. So this is embarrassing for those companies which sell their premier and prestigious, expensive weapon systems to India, that how poorly they are being used, that it discredits their quality and performance around the world.
True.
So I think it also proves before Prime Minister Modi that only money and technology is not a substitute to human values, courage, and professional excellence. And the professional excellence, the morale, the motivation, and the resolve of Pakistani Air Force pilots is far superior than that of the Indian Air Force, which had a 3-1 superiority in the air battle in early morning today. But they were humbled, they were damaged, they were defeated, and they were forced to retreat. So it is the man behind the gun, it is the heart and mind and soul, and not just the body, not just the wealth, not just the technology, which is the decisive element in any conflict.
Dr. Saab, I would like to seek your comments that in overnight strikes inside in Pakistan, most unfortunate thing was that places of worship were attacked. A mosque in Muzaffarabad, then in Muridke, then in Ahmedpur Sharqiya, I'm in Ahmedpur East. So how you see this particular thinking, the way Israel is carrying out attacks inside in Gaza and targeting most of the places of worship, most of the mosques over there have been destroyed. So in all 3 or 4 places, the places of worships were attacked. So what it reflects on the part of India, it didn't have courage to come to any other military base or place. So your views, please.
I think it reflects 3 things. Number one, it reflects on their moral character. Secondly, it reflects a deliberate and belligerent violation of international law and law of conflict and Geneva Conventions. And number 3, it provides a compelling evidence that their hatred against Muslims, their hatred against non-Hindus is characterized by their targeting policy. And they have chosen to attack peaceful civilians. They have chosen to attack places of worship. While Pakistan, in response to Indian unilateral action, stopped the travel visas for the Indians, but it did not stop the travel visas of those Indians who want to visit religious places for their services and for their rituals. So that shows our character, which is in sharp contrast to that of India. And thirdly, it also indicates that they always try to attack and harm the weak, the unarmed. And this is something which they have done by killing almost 100,000 Kashmiris in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. True. And this also proved their hatred defines their strategic character against other non-Hindus and particularly Muslims. So it is the same mindset which has led to the destruction of Babri Mosque inside India, which is driving their targeting policy of their air force to target places of worship inside Pakistan. So it is not possible for Pakistan not to retaliate and remind India to restrain itself and behave responsibly, because otherwise the consequences will be far more painful and embarrassing for India in future.
Dr. Syed Mohammad Ali Saab, I would like to seek your comment that today Indian National Security Advisor Ajit Doval spoke to his number of counterparts, American, then Japanese, then number of other countries, and one sentence that we got that India doesn't want escalation. So on the other hand, Pakistani National Security Advisor also received a call from Secretary Rubio, right? So what do you make out of this, that India is now saying that it doesn't want escalation? But Pakistan has made it clear that Pakistan also doesn't want escalation. But if it is done from the Indian side, which India did, no, what is the way forward? The friendly countries are active, UN is active, Americans are active. So what do you think that how the situation could be, the tension could be reduced, it could be de-escalated?
I think there are three things. Number one, as I earlier pointed out, Pakistan spent last 2 weeks in intense multilateral and bilateral diplomacy in order to dissuade India from carrying out what it unfortunately carried out yesterday, in order to prevent this region from descending into crisis. Secondly, Pakistan warned all international institutions, particularly UN Security Council, OIC, and several others, and our friends around the world, that if India carries out any illegal, unilateral, hostile act against Pakistan, then Pakistan has the right, the responsibility, as per UN Charter, as per international law, to defend itself. And how Pakistan defends itself is definitely entirely up to Pakistan. And the consequences and the responsibility of its implications and further escalation will squarely and only lie with India. So that is something which the international community perhaps failed to convince India on. Now the ball is in Pakistan's court. How Pakistan responds, how Pakistan restores the Indian attempt to erode deterrence stability and strategic stability in South Asia is entirely up to Pakistan. And lastly, let me tell you that since 1987, this is the 8th such crisis, which is a direct consequence of unilateral Indian attempt to destabilize South Asia by attacking Pakistan. And the responsibility to maintain strategic stability, the responsibility to maintain peace and security, the responsibility to manage escalation cannot be unilaterally expected from Pakistan. It takes two to tango. So if India attacks Pakistan, you cannot expect Pakistan not to respond and prevent and punish any aggressor in whatever form, shape, or nature of aggression it attempts.
Thank you so much, Dr. Syed Mohammad Ali Saab, for sharing extremely valuable thoughts and your insightful analysis on current situation between India and Pakistan in the aftermath of the Indian strikes inside in Pakistan, and what is Pakistan's strategy, how Pakistan will respond. And you made it clear that Pakistan reserves the right to respond at a time of its own choice. And you also made it clear that Pakistani armed forces are professionally well prepared, and in case of any further eventuality, the way a response was given by Pakistan Air Force to Indian Air Force, a similar response could also be given, but Pakistan reserves the right to respond to these Indian strikes. Thank you so much. Despite your very, very busy schedule, You have been quite busy in last 24 hours in watching, analyzing situation. Despite that, you participated in our program. And dear viewers, till our next program, goodbye and Khuda Hafiz.